Dominating news here and abroad this weekend, of course, has been the G7. All eyes have been on France, and our Prime Minister Scott Morrison is about to meet with Donald Trump, where Australia's commitment in the Strait of Hormuz is expected to be raised. For more, I'm joined right now by Sky News political reporter Tom Connell. So, Tom, it's an interesting situation for Australia, but the issue is still being overshadowed by America's trade war with China.
Yeah, it is. Look, this has dominated the whole G7 so far, particularly because just before all of this, yes, the trade war was going on, but China slapped tariffs on the US. Donald Trump responded just before he took off here for the G7. What's interesting, though, is, again, it can be a little bit hard to follow exactly what Donald Trump's feelings are on this, and it's worth noting there's a lot of pressure back home on him because of the impact on the US economy. He focuses on the impact on China and says tariffs are hurting China. People in the US at the moment, though, a lot of different people saying, well, hang on, look at the state of the US economy. Can we afford to be in this tit-for-tat tariff war right now? Donald Trump, when he was speaking earlier today at a breakfast with Boris Johnson, was unapologetic about waging the trade war.
I think they respect the trade war. It has to happen. China's been, I can only speak for the United States. I can't say what they've been doing to the UK and to other places, but from the standpoint of the United States, what they've done is outrageous that presidents and administrations allowed them to get away with taking hundreds of billions of dollars out every year, putting it into China. So the answer is nobody told me that. Nobody would tell me that.
But later, at another meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Donald Trump says, well, he does sometimes second-guess the impacts of these, and he hasn't actually announced anything further on China in terms of what else he said last week on Friday when he spoke about ordering US companies to look at alternatives, that is, pull their factories out of China, manufacturing out of the country. He said, well, nothing's been done yet on that. So appearing to equivocate somewhat. It'll make an interesting meeting for Scott Morrison, given the mood Donald Trump's in. It's just going to be a brief pull-aside between the two leaders. Scott Morrison expected to discuss the Strait of Hormuz, as you mentioned, Gemma. This is an area in which Australia has made a commitment to try to help the oil being shipped out of that country and have free access for commercial ships along in that area. But at the same time, Australia does support the other side of this equation, the Iran nuclear deal that Donald Trump has torn up.
Tom, I understand the PM has also just met with the Japanese Prime Minister. Tell us a bit more about that.
He has. Look, we don't have a lot of information yet out of this, just that the various strategic issues were discussed, close relationship, etc., essentially, and the two leaders not giving much away, I think it's fair to say, when the cameras were allowed in for a small part of the meeting.
Can I congratulate you again on Osaka and the G20, and everyone is looking forward to the Rugby World Cup in a little while now, and of course the preparations for the Tokyo Olympics next year.
And as a matter of fact, we have had a series of very productive discussions between myself and you.
So good friends that agree on a lot, perhaps the best way to summarise that. Although it is interesting, and we'll try to ascertain whether or not Scott Morrison did raise the prospect of the current trade issue that Japan's having with South Korea, amongst all the other things happening in the world, and particularly the aggression of North Korea. It is flummoxing many that these two countries are not getting along because of a dispute that dates back to the Second World War. So nothing going all that smoothly at the G7.
Everything old is new again, Tom, so it seems we'll be staying tuned to watch your reports as they come to hand during the week.